welcome back to Bucks Beat Podcast. This is episode 121. Be talking about this Georgia receiving core. And a little coming up in a little bit, my go-to man, Lindsay Scott, will join me on the show. On paper, this is a really impressive wide receiver group that Gunnar Stockton's going to be throwing the ball to this upcoming season. And wanted to talk about them coming up right now. All these college football preseason magazines have hit the shelves. And I was looking at Lindy's here before cutting the podcast. And Lindy's listed the top 20 receivers in college football, and Georgia did not have one receiver on the list. The Bulldogs do have three senior wide receivers that I'm really excited to see on the field, and I believe are going to do a lot of damage this season for the Bulldogs. Dillon Bell, who is a very versatile, has a very versatile skill set. Heck, we've seen him at the running back position when there were some injury problems going on there. But he's going to come in motivated in his senior season. He was put in a tough spot last year when Ra Thomas and then Colby Young were dismissed from the team, the two ex-wide receivers. And Dillon Bell was one of the receivers trying to cover up the void. So not able to take advantage of his versatility, trying to cover up the weakness they had as far as the wide receiver core goes. They did not have a true X-receiver available. Dillon Bell led the receiver group for Georgia with a drop rate of 12.2%. So, he was totally disappointed and will be motivated to erase that coming into this season. He's going to be back at the Z receiver spot where they can take advantage of his versatility, put him in motion, moving him around, and he's going to be back being a big weapon for him. And I just expect Dillon Bell to go out and have a really productive season this year as a senior. Got the transfer senior Noah Thomas takes over at the ex-wide receiver spot and comes in from Texas A&M. His 6'6" frame creates a mismatch out on the perimeter that again, Georgia just didn't have with their offense a year ago. He had 8 touchdowns last season catching it for Texas A&M. And his addition will be huge in this offense. Look good during the spring, look good at G-Day, ready to step in and do some big things with this Bulldog wide receiver core. You got senior Colby Young back for his final season at Georgia. He returns after a disastrous, just a nightmare year a year ago off the field. And now that that's cleaned up, looks like he's going to be back in there rotating with Noah Thomas at that ex-wide receiver spot. Yeah, he's motivated to go out and have a big, big season. So Georgia didn't have an ex-receiver a year ago. They got 2 proven, experienced ex-receivers coming in to this season. They provide advantages that Beck and Stockton didn't have last year. And really what it is, just physical mismatches out on the perimeter. When you've got a 6'4", 220-pound receiver, a 6'6", 210-pound receiver going up against these cornerbacks, you've got a real advantage in third down, red zone, goal line, where they can go up on those 50-50 balls and out-wrestle the cornerback for the football. So feeling really good about those guys coming in at that ex-wide receiver spot. Is going to be huge. And I know Gunnar Stockton is really excited about that. He's worked overtime this offseason, getting reps and some chemistry with Noah and Colby Young, for that matter. Got Zach Branch back at the he's coming in as a transfer from USC. He'll be at the slot receiver formation, and they will be able to take advantage of his explosive skill set, really quick and explosive, can make people miss. When you got the big X receiver on the outside, Dillon Bell, opposite the X, and then you've got the slot like Zach Branch, you're going to have a lot of quality opportunities to hit some big plays in this passing attack. And joining me now, my go-to receiver, Lindsay Scott. Lindsay, talking about this Georgia wide receiver core, and they've got something this coming season they did not have last season, and that was the X-wide receivers. And so wondering what you thought. I know you probably saw a little bit of the G-Day scrimmage about the transfer Noah Thomas coming in from Texas A&M. And then you get Colby Young back. Hopefully will survive this season. Now you've got two X-receivers where you didn't have any last season. What kind of impact will that have with this wide receiver core, you think?
Well, I think, you've got some experience. I think with Thomas coming over from Texas A&M, he's caught some balls, He's caught some balls, and he's got some experience. And, he's a senior. He's an older guy, and he's a guy that probably is going to help Gunner a lot as far as, especially the deep ball and getting down the field. But he's got some experience, and he's going to help. And the thing that maybe I want to talk with you about or mention about, the narrative on the Georgia receivers last year was drop balls, and I don't know how you would calculate that, I don't know where that number came from, but they led the nation in drop passes last year. And, like I said, I don't know how you calculate that, but that's not a trend that you want to be a part of. That's not a trend that, going forward, I think, they're going to be a lot better. They've got some experience, and they've got these guys coming in, these older guys coming in from Texas A&M, and we got Colby Young coming back, and we got the kid coming over from, the kid coming over from USC. I guess the slot receiver, and of course we've got Dylan Bell, and Dylan's been excellent. Dylan's been that guy that's been able to do it all. He's got the experience, but the drop ball thing I really don't get. But then again, at the same time, I think with the experience they've got coming in, they're going to be a lot better this year. And, they're going to be able to, at least, help Gunner. And I think they're going to be a lot better than they were last year.
Yeah, the great thing about these X receivers, most of the time they're on a single receiver side, so they're matched up. Got that whole side to work against the cornerback. See a lot of back shoulder fades, contested catches, jump balls, 50-50 balls. And when you're 6'6", like Noah Thomas, and when you're 6'4", like Colby Young, it's a really big deal for Georgia's offense. Again, they didn't have this last season. Now they got two guys that can fill that role. We're talking red zone, third down, short yardage. There are physical mismatches that Gunner's going to be able to take advantage of with these two guys.
Yeah, and that's great. And then going even further, I'm one of those guys that you've got the Taylor kid coming in. You've got I think he signed like 4 or 5 wide young guys coming in, and receiver is the one position that a young guy can help right away. And, you never know what you're going to get. But I think with this Taylor kid, I think, you can make plays. These young kids can make plays. And, I mean, I don't know what we're going to get, and I don't know exactly how they're going to affect. But then, with these guys, with Thomas and with Colby Young, these guys got the experience. They're older guys. Even the guy coming in from USC, what's his name? He's got some experience. So Zachariah, he's got some experience. But I'm excited, too, about the young guys they got coming in. I mean, and I think because the receiver, the young guys can make an impact. And so I'm excited about those guys also.
Dylan Bell, because of Ra Thomas and Colby Young being dismissed prior to the season a year ago, Dylan Bell had to try to help fill that void at the X receiver spot. What I love about Dylan Bell is his versatility. He can line up at the Z. He can line up at the slot. Heck, you can line him up at the running back and throwing the football out of the running back spot. He led the team in drops a year ago. His drop rate, a little over 12%. And so he's coming in motivated and excited to go out and have a big season.
And that's, and I guess that's what I wanted to touch on a little bit, And I think a lot of that was uncharacteristic of Dillon. I don't know why uncharacteristic of Dillon, because he's been pretty solid for us. He's been a guy that like you talked about, he's been versatile. He's been asked to do different things. He's been able to do different things. And maybe if it's a confidence thing or whatever, but then again, like I say, with another year on his belt, with these other guys coming in, I think it's going to take the pressure off him a little bit. And I think he'll have a better year. But I didn't know exactly what his numbers were last year. But, he's been a guy normally that we've been able to count on. And we've been able to actually do a lot of different things. So we'll see how that turns out this year. But, yeah, he should come back a lot stronger than he did last year.
Zach Branch made a name for himself at USC, returning kicks, punts, kickoffs, and made some big plays as a receiver. Georgia will have him in that slot where he's running a lot of short underneath stuff, working the middle of the field, taking advantage of his explosiveness and his quickness. Looking forward to seeing more of this guy. How about you?
Well, he's got some experience. I think he's got some experience, and he's a guy that's caught some balls. And and like I say, he brings a lot of confidence to the table, And so that's what we needed. He's got some guy. He's a guy that's played a lot of football at USC. So I'm excited about what he's going to do and what he's going to bring to the table. But I think he's a guy that they went out and got, and he's played a lot of football. So I'm excited about seeing what he can do.
Yeah, I was reading one of these preseason magazines. They had the top 20 receivers in college football rated out. Georgia did not have a player in the group. But I tell you, as I look at the group right now on paper, if I'm Gunnar Stockton, I'm really excited about the weapons in that wide receiver room. I'm really excited about that. I'm also, Lindsay, excited about you being a part of Buck Belue's quarterback camp coming up next month. Looking forward to you coming up and coaching up these wide receivers that are going to be at the camp. And just love how you've already dove in to getting this thing planned out. I mean, you're going to talk to these receivers about technique and route running and football IQ. And I'm sure a lot of them are thinking with that run, Lindsay, run play, they want to learn how to provide the big play.
And, becoming that complete guy, becoming that complete guy. Everybody likes to make the big catch, man. Everybody likes, give me the football, let me take it and do what I want to do with it. And that's great. And I think you gotta have that element as a receiver, But I think the thing that I want to emphasize, and I'm so tickled to death that you invited me to be a part of this camp, but it's becoming that complete receiver. It's becoming that complete football player. It's about, your stance, and it's about getting off the ball consistently time after time. It's about, your route running, and it's about certainly catching the football and being in the right place being in the right place at the right time. And lo and behold, blocking. And I think this is something that, especially as a young guy, and I think they're teaching this more and more now, being that complete guy, being more involved, and just being able to block and be involved and help the other guys out. So I think that's something that we're gonna talk about. That's something we're gonna emphasize. And there are other drills we can use. But I'm excited, knowing the down and distance and just becoming that complete guy, becoming that guy that's involved, even when your number's not called, and even when you're not so involved in the direct play. I mean, becoming that complete receiver. And that's stuff that I'm excited about, and I know these kids are going to be excited about learning.
And I can't have you on without talking about your induction coming up here in a couple of months to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. And Scotty, just really happy to see you going in. And I wanted to talk about that first time I ever saw you play. We were playing Valdosta High against Wayne County, your school. We played you guys in the first round of the state high school football playoffs, and we were up 14-0, and we were feeling pretty good about coming away with a win. And Wayne County, you guys scored a touchdown, kicked the extra point, came back a little later in the game, scored again, and you went for two. And, boy, that quarterback threw that ball up around the crossbar on the goalpost in the back of the end zone. I'm thinking nobody's catching that. And this guy named Lindsay Scott rose up and brought that ball down for the game-winning two-point conversion. Scotty, that was the first time I saw you play, and I was thinking, man, I'd love to be throwing it to that guy at some point in time. What about that two-point conversion I'm talking about? What do you remember about that?
Well, I mean, like I said, we in Jessup, it was about, it was about team, and it was about teammates, and it was about coaches. It was about community, and certainly it's about family and commitment. But then again, at the same time, I mean, we played a little football over in Jessup, and certainly going up against a team like Valdosta High in the state playoffs, we were going to have our hands full. But we were able to pull that thing out. We had a lot of guys. We had a guy named Donnie Palmer that could run with the wind. A little guy that was able to return a punt for us. But anyway, Donnie was a guy. But we had certainly a lot of positives on that team. And then like I say, it was encouraging. It was great to be a part of that team. But we were able to pull that out. A lot of good coaches, a lot of good mentors, a lot of good people around that community. But we were able to pull that out. And lo and behold, it was against, your team, the Valdosta High Wildcats, that's got, the tradition everywhere. And then we were able to pull that game out and go on and go further in the state playoffs that particular year. But it was an exciting time. A lot of good people in Wayne County, a lot of good people in Jessup, and it was just good to be a part of that.
Yeah, and really good to be your teammate in that Georgia-Florida game in 1980 when we were down. Looked like our opportunity to win the SEC and be in that national championship mix was going to go out the window. Time running out. We're backed up in inside our own 10-yard line, and that play came in from the sideline, left 76, and I'm thinking, hey, I don't care about predetermining who the receiver's going to be. This ball's going to Lindsay Scott on this play, regardless of the coverage and regardless of what was going to happen. You still get people wanting to talk about that?
Well, those were some great times, and I think Georgia has gone on to win a couple more national championships, and Kirby's done a great job up there. But yeah, I mean, it's something that like I said, over the years, people talk about it. How do you feel? Where were you at? What were you doing? What situation? Would you do it? Would you do anything different? But I don't know. People talk about it. But like it all boils down to teammates, commitment, program, being a part of that situation. And I just thank God every day that I was able to be a part of that situation with the guys that I was involved with and my coaches in that situation at Georgia at the time. So, like I said, it's all about team, and it's all about commitment.
My favorite game we played together was the next season. We opened with Tennessee at home between the hedges at Sanford Stadium, and we had a really big day that day throwing the football around. You had two big touchdown catches. One was that flag route right in front of that Georgia student body. You went up high and brought that ball down, got 1 foot in for the touchdown. To me, that was the most fun. That Run Lindsay Run play was epic, obviously, but really enjoyed that next season against Tennessee as we blew them out of the building.
And we began to have some fun, and I think that's what I remember about it. We began to have some fun, and I think it all stems from those plays. We talk about Georgia, Florida, but yeah, Georgia, Florida. But then again, that senior year, it catapulted us into a whole other area, and we were able to make those plays and to throw the ball around a little bit more and to have fun a little bit more, and it became a lot more exciting. But yeah, those are times that I really enjoyed, and I think it's something that we worked at and we really enjoyed. And though that junior year catapulted us into that senior year, and we had some great times, man. And we were able to throw the ball around a lot more and have a lot more fun. But those were, man, I agree with you. Those were exciting times, and those are times that I will always remember.
Yeah, and I believe the last completion that we had was at the 680 The Fan Classic Golf Tournament up at Lake Lanier. You ran a couple of dig routes for me. out on that 10th fairway, which was a lot of fun. Hey, Scotty, we appreciate you joining me today and talking a little football, brother. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Buck, guys. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you also. Thank you very much.
Always great to catch up with my man, my go-to guy, Lindsay Scott. In closing, wanted to remind you about the quarterback receiver camp we've got coming up. It's my 5th annual Buck Belue quarterback camp involving high school quarterbacks and high school wide receivers. The camp is going down in Lilburn, coming up on Saturday, July 19th from 10 to noon. And really excited about having Lindsay a part of this. It's also free, all right? Thanks to our great friends at Georgia Power and, of course, 680 The Fan. So it's free. You can register right now. Get registered. Be a part of it at 680thefan.com/quarterback camp. And look forward to seeing you out there. We've had some quarterbacks go on to college, playing some college football, and it's always fun tracking the guys that come out to the camp. So I'm looking forward to it again, man. It's going to be awesome. It's going to do it for this podcast. We'll be back next week with 2 more. Remember, Buck Belue Show, when the Braves don't play at 7, Monday through Friday, I'm on 6 to 8, and then on Saturdays from 9 to noon.